Welcome back, everyone. So, this is my 94 Miata, and I bought this car about 2 years ago with 54,000 miles on it. And this car has done a lot of sitting. And I've already gone ahead and replaced a lot of the age-related, service items. For example, the coolant hoses, I ended up putting a whole radiator in it. Because the other one it had turned green, and that's usually what happens when the plastic gets old and brittle. But I did a timing belt service, a couple of upper end engine gaskets and seals. I just got finished retiming the ignition system and set it to its factory 10 degrees before top dead center position. And, I'm just kind of going over a few things. And I realized that I didn't do one of the very common service items on an engine that has been sitting a lot. And that is a fuel injector service. A fuel injector service on this car is probably not a bad idea. It runs great. But the reality is those injectors probably could stand to have a little refresh done to them. New seals, for example. They don't leak now, but I do suspect that there might be, a mild vacuum leak in one of these ports, or one or more of them. The engine runs smooth, but it has an occasional blip. And it could be anything. I have done no diagnostics whatsoever to this vehicle. And it's not a constant, like a hesitation or a misfire, but, given the car's age and the fact that rubber components, especially O-rings, they tend to dry up over time, it's not a bad idea to just prophylactically pull those injectors out and replace the seals and pintle caps. But I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to send the injectors out to a shop nearby, and we're going to have them cleaned. Now, what they do when they clean them is they put them in an ultrasonic bath, and they clean them externally, and then they run them in a machine that actuates the injector while a potent detergent is pumped through them. And this way, when they come back, they'll be not only flow tested, so I'll know they're good, but they will have new seals and pintle caps, and they'll be clean as a whistle. So now is a really good time to do this, because again, it's March, and I'm really not committed to putting this car on the road full time quite yet. And we're in the middle of the COVID-19. We're not really sheltering in place yet, but there's really no place to go. So taking this car out for a drive is kind of pointless. There's no place to go. All restaurants are closed. All ice cream parlors are pretty much closed. There's nothing to do. So why not get some maintenance done? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the motor, and first I'm going to just quickly scope out the situation. It looks like what we need to do is loosen up these 2 bolts on the 3 bolts on the fuel rail. There's only 3. We're going to leave the fuel lines connected, and we're going to lift the fuel rail off, and we're going to pull those injectors out. So looks pretty straightforward to me. But we first need to depressurize the fuel system. And the 2 things you need to do for that, number 1, loosen up the fuel cap to relieve any pressure in the tank. There really shouldn't be right now. And then we're going to run the engine and pull the fuel pump relay. And when the car stalls, we'll be good to go. So we're going to be pulling, let's see, fuel injection. I think it would be labeled fuel pump, no? I've had to do this before, actually. That's the injector relay. and then there's like ejector fuse, and then there's a relay. So those aren't them. The injector relays are what actuate the injectors. We don't want to pull that. We want to pull the fuel pump fuse. So, or relay, wherever the hell that might be. Might be in the car. Let's take a look. Could be under the dash, maybe? Where is the fuse box in this car? Alright, so the purpose of what I just did was to allow the injectors to continually fire as the fuel is depleted, with the pressure is relieved in the fuel rail. The fuel pump relay is located under the dashboard on this 94, and it is identified by a yellow plug going into a relay. And so I just turned the ignition completely off, and I loosened the fuel cap. So what we now need to do is start disconnecting the fuel injectors. Again, this is a prophylactic measure. The car runs fine. I just really feel like this needs to be done. Given the car's age and the fact that I do plan on, keeping it for years and years and years to come. So I'm going to remove my PCV valve and hose. Just the hose. I'm going to leave the valve where it is. And we're going to undo this here tie. Okay. And let's see. Alright, let's get on it. So I found a company local to me that does injector service, and their rates are very reasonable. They want to charge $25 per injector. Now that is actually more money than some of the other places charge. But given I don't want to ship these out, I can just bring them. I don't have to pay shipping. And I can have them done, they're saying, same day. So I like that more than I like, a lower price. So squeeze these connectors in. There we go. It looks like these seals are actually seeping a little bit. As soon as I put a little bit of movement on these injectors, I do smell fuel. So that just kind of tells me that I'm really not in the wrong here. It looks like this is going to have to be done anyway. So I think this is worth my time and money.
So if you're still with me in this video, I thought I should point out a couple of things. Number one, there was nothing wrong with this engine that would indicate any need for injector seals or cleaning. I'm really doing this out of curiosity and boredom. I can't drive the car right now because the weather isn't great yet. We have another month of crappy weather before I can really hit the road hard in this car. And since I got nothing else better to do, and it's kind of warm out in the garage, it's not too cold, I figured it would be fun to pull the injectors out for two purposes. Number one, are they dirty or clogged? Number two, how are the seals holding up? The car is 26 years old, And there are two things that are kind of hell for engine seals, be it fuel or oil seals, and that is time and heat. This car has got a lot of time under its belt, and this engine runs and it produces a lot of heat. Okay. The other thing is the injectors themselves. Now, this car has sat and sat and sat for many, many years on and off. I looked at the Carfax on this car before I bought it, and I knew I was going to have a lot of sitting around itis type problems with this vehicle. Cars don't like to sit. Now, what happens to injectors in cars that just sit around in garages or what have you is they tend to varnish up. So I thought it might not be a bad idea while I'm checking out the seals to send the injectors off to a shop and have them looked over. And if the injectors need cleaning, they clean them. If they don't, they just charge me for the inspection or for the testing of the injectors to make sure they're all in balance and spraying a nice even pattern. They're also checking the injectors for leakage, which is a problem that can go undetected for a long time and can be signified by hard starting or black smoke on startup. So let's see how this looks when we get it apart.
All right, now, one of the things that I was cautioned when I did some little bit of research on what has to happen here, I was cautioned on these three little plastic spacers. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So there's three little plastic spacers here, here, and here. And you want to make sure that you have some means of capturing those. So we're going to just crack these loose, one bolt at a time. And I'm going to put my hand under there to capture the plastic spacers. So, and that's for bolt size. It's going to be 12 millimeter. And we're going to use the swivel extension on that. And we're just going to crack them loose, crack them all loose a little bit. All right. The thing with fuel injector leaks is that, you know, a lot of car fires can be avoided by just, you know, keeping your fuel leaks in check. O-rings on an engine this old, you know, they're just a ticking time bomb. And I just don't want to be stranded, you know, with my car on fire because I decided to save 10 bucks on not replacing these seals. You know, the thing about leaks like this is they can go undetected for miles. They start out small, and before you know it, you've got fuel vapor spraying everywhere, and it finds an ignition source and kaboom! So it just, in a case like this, even though there are no active leaks, I would rather just get it done before it becomes a problem. You understand? Alright. Get these bolts out here. It's not like it's a difficult chore in this car either. You know. So the reason that you want to make sure you don't lose these guys is because they can fall down into here and they'll be gone forever. At this point, these injectors are ready to come out, and let's see what one looks like. Let's take one out and have a good look at it. Okay. Now, where's my flashlight? It's pretty nasty looking. That's the first one. Now, when we have these injectors rebuilt, we're going to be replacing both the O-rings here on the top and the bottom, and if necessary, the pintle caps. And these are the original Densos. And let's take a look at these O-rings. So they're still very supple. These are the high pressure. So this is the high pressure side, and this is the low pressure side, the intake side. So you don't need to mark these. I'm pretty sure that doesn't matter. All right, let's get the second one out. Press it out of the damn fucking ring brace. There we go. Number 2. Okay. Now this one, doesn't look too bad, really. But yeah, each O-rings are definitely hardened. They're hardened. So yeah, no good. No good. No good. Yeah, this one on number 1 is still very rubbery. So let me see what you want to read. Pop that guy out. It still has, yeah, these are like hardened plastic. And I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be flexible. But there is a little bit of a rubberiness to the inside of it. If you scrape the if you scrape it a little bit, you can feel it. Whereas this one here on number 2, definitely hard plastic. Yeah, those are gone. Those are ruined by heat exposure more than anything. Okay, looks pretty clean. I'm looking down on the port on the intake side. Looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. So get the second or third one out. There we go. Yeah, I mean, these don't look too bad. I mean, I don't really know what I'm looking for, to be honest. But you see there's tiny little filters in there. We'll take a look at one of those in a bit. Let me take out number 3. Same deal, number 3. Brass seal. But, you know, these don't look to be gummed up at all. I might be able to just toss these guys into the ultrasonic and just, yeah, and just give them hell. But, well, anyway, we get the rest of those seals out. They got stuck in the cylinder head. Let's get the rest of those seals. Pop them out very carefully. carefully, not to scratch the bore. Very gingerly. So, get these out of here. So I got all 4. Okay. All right. That's that. Now, what's next? Well, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at these injectors and peering down into where so there's a tiny filter that goes down in there. This is part of the injector service kit that I ordered. Turns out I didn't need it because the company that is going to be cleaning these already supplies all that stuff. But these injectors look pretty clean. You can tell this car has never seen sand or salt exposure in its life. Because if you look at how clean these bodies are, if you're from New England or in the northern part of, or any place where there's snow and salt on the roads, you know that they never look this clean when you pull them out. I mean, there is a little bit of, crap on the nozzle end of these, but it's not too bad. The seals are definitely in need of replacement. I mean, I'm just kind of fondling them a little bit. And this one right here, this big one right here, the top cushion, it's hardened. It should be more flexible than that. So, I mean, these were in no danger of leaking immediately. But what really concerns me, and which is why I'm doing this in the first place, are these bottom seals. They're very hard, and I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be flexible, like rubber. And again, heat cycling over the course of 25 years and 60,000 miles, it really does a number on them. And so I think these are bad. Oh yeah. Yeah. So what it is a plastic spacer and a rubber grommet that's sandwiched on top of it. It's like a rubber ring, and it's very, very, very hard, very unpliable. And they're all like this. Some are worse than others. But these are going to get dunked in an ultrasonic tank. And I'm looking down in the filters, and they're very clean in there. There's no dirt, no nothing. So that's a good sign. It means that my fuel system isn't really breaking down and sending particles into the injectors. These tiny little filters are where all of that gunk is going to end up collecting. And again, these look really clean. I don't see anything. Now you might be thinking, why not just buy all new injectors? You get them on eBay for $60 a set of 4. And well, I'm sure if this was a car that I was selling, I'd be like, sure, why not? $60, it's cheaper, honestly, than having these cleaned professionally. But those aren't going to be authentic Denso injectors. They're not going to last as long. They're probably from Chinese origins. And we just don't want to mess with that stuff. We really don't want to mess with Chinese replacement parts on a car like this. This is not just a buy here, pay here beater car from, that I'm going to use to go to and from work and then scrap it when I'm done. This is a future classic car. This is a 94 Miata that's in fantastic condition. I'm not going to be scrapping this car anytime soon. Or ever. In fact, I'd like to have this car when I'm 60, ideally. And, I want to, or for as long as, it's legal to drive a gasoline-powered car in the United States. If you've ever heard the song Red Barchetta from Rush, you know what I'm talking about. But this is a car that I want to keep around for as long as I'm able to drive, and I'm not going to put Chinese cheap junk parts on it. Just not going to do that. So let me give these a quick wipe down. I contacted the company that is doing injector cleaning locally to me, and I gave them the info, and they said, sure, bring them on down. We're still running, we're still in business, and for the foreseeable future, to bring them on down. And this way I can have the car running its best. I was once scolded by a mechanic, not my father, but one of his friends. I had a 1987 Volkswagen GTI with the Bosch K-Jetronic fuel system, and I tore the engine down to the block. It was my first car, and I was just kind of learning on it. And I put the whole thing back together, got it running again, and my dad said, you know, it's running a little off, and I agreed. So he said, I know a Volkswagen specialist, and we'll have him take a look and see what he thinks. So I paid the specialist his $50 minimum service charge, and he says, you did a fantastic job. It was the first car I ever worked on, and I did it mostly myself. And he said, great job, but you really should have changed the injectors. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, injectors, if you're doing all that work, if you're going to go through all that trouble to get this car up and running again, the fuel injectors are probably one of the most important things to look into, because they wear out over time. They get clogged. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong with a fuel injector that can cause even more problems down the road. You might as well either have them professionally cleaned or replaced. Now, that car had what they call continuous flow injectors. That's what CISE means. Continuous, continuous flow electronically modified fuel mixture. And what it would do is the K-Jetronic or CISE system would spray a constant stream of fuel from all four injectors, regardless of where it was in the cycle. This is what they call a sequential multi-port fuel injection system. So these only activate when they're needed. But a CIS system is a continuous flow. It's a very simple injector, but the fuel system was horrible for fuel mileage. It was just a very crude injection system. But those injectors would have been fairly inexpensive to replace because they were fairly common back then. Now I think they're quite pricey these days. Short story long, I think we're ready to send these guys out, and we're going to take off where we left off. When I get these back, we'll get some new seals on them. And I think the pintle caps come off of these. That's this plastic piece here. And we'll get it back, and we'll see how it sounds, how it runs. But yeah, we're going to be putting the originals back on. We're not putting on any Chinese knockoffs. These injectors, by the way, these are good for like 300,000 miles. I mean, they're really good injectors, but over time, seals go bad, and they can get clogged with gunk, especially in a car that sits around a lot. And this one clearly does. Until next time, see you then. Well, we're back, and my sorry dumbass left the passenger's door open for 4 days. What is that, 5% or 56%? Charging 61. Oh, that ain't right. There's no way it's 60% charge. That's fake news. So, what do we got? So I got the injectors. All right, so today we got the injectors back from the cleaners. Little fun story to tell you about those. And we got some stuff here. This is an OEM PCV hose. I got this from Parts Geek, and they actually sent me a genuine Mazda part. So we got a new PVC hose. We got these injector seal kits. And I ended up ordering a seal and pintle cap kit with filters just in case I needed them, but we don't need them. Let's take a look at this seal kit here. What do we got here? You know what? Yeah, I don't like these. These look kind of chintzy, and you know what? They don't come. This did not come with the bottom seal. It only came with the top seal. So that's bogus. Okay, so what are we doing now? I'm asking, what am I doing? All right, so here's what we need to accomplish. So as I stated, the injectors just came back. They took them, so I dropped them off yesterday. And, oh wow, they even shrink wrapped them, or they sealed them into the bag. That's pretty cool. So I dropped them off yesterday. They were closed. I dropped them off like on their outside little drop-off box. And I got a call this morning at around I don't know, 10 a.m. And they told me that we tested all 4 of your injectors, and they all tested perfect. No cleaning necessary at all. They're good to go. Come and get them. And I said, oh, really? And they said, yes, really. Your injectors are fine. And they still have some of that solution they put in there. So, long story short, all 4 injectors came back looking pretty. Nothing wrong with them. Nothing in the there's no need to change the filters. They're perfectly fine. And they all balanced out, so they're all producing the same exact fuel pattern. Now, you might be thinking, well, that was a complete colossal waste of time and money, because I had to pay for that. So they charge $100 to clean. I'm sorry. They charge $25 per injector to clean them. And it was $10 per injector to test them. So I said, well, when I drop them off, just why don't you test them first, and we'll see how they go. And that's so they didn't just clean them. They didn't clean them at all. But there was no need to. So instead of spending $100, I spent in all $40 for a little bit of peace of mind. Now, all right. So you might be thinking, well, even though it was only a $40 charge versus $100, that's still a waste of money, and I kind of agree with you. But there's also, one other thing that you might want to consider, and that's peace of mind. Knowing that all 4 injectors have been professionally tested and passed is actually kind of good to know, because let's say, couple months down the road, I start having a misfire. I have a major problem. Being an OBD1 car, the amount of information I can extrapolate from the engine codes is fairly minimal. And it won't necessarily tell me that I have a clogged injector or a misfire on cylinder 2 or 3. So knowing that these injectors are good and need nothing in terms of service is quite valuable information. And, So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly clean them up. I think I've got some, what do we got here? I got seafoam, I got intake valve cleaner, I got throttle body and air intake, and that'll work. Kind of gussy them up a little bit. I'll take the seals off. The O-rings. I have a tool. I have a tool for that. But I'm just going to spray them up a little bit, get some of this gunk off of them, make them look pretty. And another thing I want to point out is just how good the electrical connectors are. So in this car, it looks like the electrical connectors are sealed pretty nicely. That's actually quite nice, because it just is. All right, so I'm gonna just do this one injector right now. What else do I have that might clean it up a little bit nicer? I got GDI intake valve. I got PV nut blaster. I got Rocky Road. I got Mississippi Mud. Mass airflow cleaner. Huh. No good old-fashioned carbon choke cleaner, apparently. That sucks. Nah, you know what? I don't need to go too far into this. All right, let's get the seals changed. I got a pack of seals and pintle caps. I'm not gonna pull the pintle caps off because I don't need to. And look at this. I got these nice. I believe these are nitrile seals, which are fuel resistant. I got new upper seals, and I got new lower seals. I think. Is that what these are? Or did they not give me those? Oh, I see what I got. Okay. Well, it's a good thing I didn't throw these away. These rubber dudes. So these are the bottom seals. These are what seal it to the block, or to the head. And the way they package them is you need to save the plastic piece. And, okay. I see how they did this. Well, it's a good thing I didn't throw these away. I almost did. I kid you not, I almost threw these away. What we need to do is cut these off with a razor blade. And I think I have some razor blades here. I got old rusty razor blades. And I got a razor blade in this razor blade. No, I don't. I have no razor blades out here. What the hell, man? Alright, we got ourselves a knife. So what we need to do, I'm glad I almost threw these stupid things away. I can't believe that. I'm thinking, so what we got here is a plastic ring with a rubber seal attached to it. And these rubber seals, they are hard as a rock. So they're definitely, they're definitely no damn good. But they weren't exactly leaking either, so I want to point that out as well. This was kind of an exercise in futility here. Because what did we prove? We proved that, the seals aren't new anymore. We knew that anyway. But we did prove that the injectors are in good working condition. So this wasn't a complete. But look at that. Hard as a rock. This is what they should sound like. Wait, that's the wrong one. Ah, here we go. Oh, it still sounds like it. Well, look at. All right, well, bear with me. Brand new seal. 26-year-old seal. There. Happy? I'm happy. All right, we're gonna pop these right into these little guys here, like so. There we go. There's one. Just pop them in so the lip goes up. There we go. Now that, my friends, is going to be a nice tight seal. Now, we're going to pop that over the pintle cap here. And what this does is it's going to seal the injector body against the cylinder head. Make sense? Okay. Now, there's my little. Here we go. So now we're going to take our little hook tool and we're going to just pop the O-ring off, and we're going to pop in a new O-ring. Now this kit comes with new filters as well. Those are the guys, these things here. I don't want to change the filters out because I just don't think it's necessary. There is nothing in them. They're not torn. They're not worn out. They look fine. And then we need to put a new, I'm going to put one of the new bottom seals on like that. And that goes in. Now there should have been some cushion seals. I think they took them off because they were on the injectors when I had started off here. Okay. Yeah. So these are what the kit comes with. Wait a second. Something ain't right here. So it looks like in my originals, the upper bushing and the lower bushing are the same exact seal. So what do I do with that information? I should have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the kit comes with a different. Ooh, unless they want me to use this on the pintle cap, and they want me to put this on top. No. Huh. Let's see. I'm a little confused. I don't know what they want me to do. Well, I got two kits here, so we're going to just make what works work. So, I do have these here. Let's see if this guy fits on top. The O-ring has to come back off. I'm gonna roll it off. And there we go. Roll it off. Come on. You don't want to scratch it now. Take the that guy off there. And Yeah, and I think that's it. Let me put this rubber bushing on top, right? And then we put the O-ring on top there, like so. And I think that's what they want me to do. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Yeah. All right, so there's one ringy dingy. Now let's get number 2. And we're going to continue from there. Alright, so we got new seals on all these injectors. They're cleaned up a little bit better than they were. Again, I won't be putting these filters in. It's just not really worth it. Okay, so let's get them in. Alrighty. I have everything I still need out here. So I've been thinking about how this process is really going to work. And I've come to the conclusion that the best way to do this would be to actually drop the seals in first. Maybe put them on the end of a screwdriver and drop them into the injector ports. Unfortunately, the hood of this car is aluminum, so the flashlight won't stick to it. Even the support structure is aluminum. So lighting is going to be a problem for me. So we'll try 1 or 2, and then I'll stop the camera, and then I'll focus on the rest. So where'd that screwdriver go that I just had in my hand? Oh, here it is. This is going to be a bit of a challenge. But I think I'm up to it. Alright, here we go. First one. And I just slide the screwdriver in like that. There we go. This way, it doesn't have to... Oops, let's try that. Come on, you. Come on. There we go. Okay. Like I'm talking to my cat. That went pretty smoothly. The thing is, you don't want to drop the seal. You know what I mean? So let me show you what I'm doing here. And so I'm just taking him off the pintle cap of the injector. I'm holding the seal right on the screwdriver shaft. Put the shaft right to the port. And let it rip. And drops it right where it needs to be. I just gently nudge it where it needs to go. Look at that. That was ingenious. This way I don't have to stick my fingers in where they won't fit and clumsily drop the seal where I will never see it again. Huh. It's the simplest things sometimes. Do I feel stupid for doing this? No, I really don't. In light of coronavirus and all that happy shit, I'm running out of things to do. I don't want to start a major home renovation project, and I got all the time in the world to do it right now, because I don't want to go to the hardware store every 5 minutes and increase not only my risk of contracting coronavirus, but the risk of other shoppers who may also have the same idea that I have, and that is to do some household work. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go out to the hardware store 17 times in a row to pick up supplies. I just don't want to do that. So I'm trying to find things that I can do, either have them shipped to the house, or, you know, just minimal human contact, which is my preferred method of operation anyway. I digress. You know, just get things done. Like this. Now, this didn't need to be done. We know that now. We know the seals actually weren't leaking. I kind of thought the car has a very, very, very slight rumble to it that is noticeable at idle. And I'm like, you know, maybe there's an intake. And I'm thinking, you know, rubber seals are going to go before anything else. And where are the most rubber seals? Ah, the injection system. And have they ever been taken out? No. No, I've got all the original seals in this car. So, you know, I figured, what could could be the harm in doing this. And I think as long as I can get this car started today, there was no harm, no foul. Did it cost me money? Hell, minimal. The seals, I bought seals I didn't need, and I'm glad I did. It worked out perfect that way. Yeah. In fact, it turns out the kit that I bought originally didn't even come with all the seals I need. Go figure. So, you know, there was that. Alright. Okay, I think we're ready to plop the fuel rail into position. I'm thinking of spraying a little bit of silicone. No, I shouldn't need to. I think the seals will settle on their own without my help. So, this is going to be the challenging part. So we need to lift that fuel rail up. Oh, I just pulled an injector out. Sorry. I wish I had a place to put this light. No, let's make the whole car out of friggin' aluminum. I can't see this injector because, oh wait, I have a camera with a light on it. That might help. No, very minimal. Minimally, my hands are blocking the light. Alright. How many of you guys and gals like the show Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad? Well, there's a reason I'm mentioning this. So, if you pay attention to the world, you'll know that what's his name? Jonathan Banks, who plays Ermintrout. He's doing commercials for Fram, which is the worst oil filter money can buy. And he uses his whole persona, his authoritative, I know what you don't know, you're a dumbass kind of persona. And he employs it to sell shitty oil filters. And I don't blame the guy for wanting to have some extra cash, you know, in between, you know, his episodes of whatever he's doing. But, man, I can't look at the guy now with a straight face and realize, you know, just, you know what I mean? I'm gonna fucking throw this flashlight. Anyway, the guy, I'm gonna throw this thing. I mean it. I'm gonna throw it. Don't tempt me. What I need to do is buy a drop light. That's what I need to do. That's what or I need to get a steel hood for this car because seriously, I can't. Magnetic for no reason. Whatever. Anyway. So, I can't seem to lift my fuel rail any further away. What if I were to do this a little bit? I need light, man. I got an idea. Alright. I'm using the camera to my advantage here because it has a built-in work light. Sweet. But yeah, I mean, watching those commercials is kind of cringeworthy. It's like, he's all, use the orange can, no nuts. It's like, no sir. No sir. I will not be using the orange can filters. Don't you dare call me numbnuts, you piece of shit. Anyway. Makes you wonder, what does a guy like Jonathan Banks even drive? I picture him in like a... Seriously, the cars that he's in, he uses in Breaking Bad, like the old full-size Chryslers from the 1980s. Yeah, like an old New Yorker or something, or a Diplomat. I think he drives a Dodge Diplomat throughout Breaking Bad. Okay, so we got our injectors. We're lining them up one by one, getting them into their hidey holes. And, yeah. And then we just push it down, I guess. And, yeah, that's it. Just push them in. Get them seated. This really isn't that bad of a job, but when you're trying to, you know, see what you're doing and there's no light, and there we go. So now we can get these little spacers into position. Being careful not to drop them. I gotta say, buying this car was probably one of the best life decisions I've ever made, because it gets me back into wrenching, which is something I loved doing when I was younger. When I was younger, I had to. I couldn't afford to pay someone to fix my car for me, so you know, I used skills that my dad taught me, and I learned how to fix my own damn cars, and it led to some really bad decisions because I was almost like addicted to fixing things that weren't broken, because I loved doing it. I just loved getting my hands in there and doing it on my own. I would never work on somebody else's car. I've done it before. It's a thankless job. I'll never do it again. And in one case, one very, very bad case, whoopsies. Sorry guys, dropped you. One notable case, I was working on my sister's Camry of all things, and she could not afford to pay someone to do a brake job for her. You know, she's got 2 kids, she works hard, she's a nurse, and you know, times are tough and all, and I want to help her out, and so I said, okay, sis, I'll do your brakes for you. So I did the front brakes on her Camry, which is a late model, 2013 or 2014 model. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy job, right? Ha! It turned into a nightmare. Getting the rims off the car was actually one of the most challenging parts of it. I couldn't get the rims off the car. They were like rusted. Hers has steel rims. They were like rusted to the brake rotors. I've never seen that before. Not in any car I've ever owned. Anyway, so that was a challenging one, I tell you. I ended up struggling to get. What did I do? I was trying to. I was doing something, and I ended up breaking. No. I misworded that. I was doing the brake caliper removal, and I ended up, my tool ended up slipping, and I wound up gashing the CV shaft boot, which, yeah, that was no fun. I ended up giving her, I gave her $400 in cash, and I said, go get your CV axle changed. I'm not touching this car again as long as I live. I have never in my life had a problem doing brakes, but that car is cursed. And Toyota makes a great product. That's why I told her to buy the car. She bought the car in my recommendation, and it's been a good car for her. So here, let me reposition you all. So we're getting there. We're almost done. This car probably won't start because the battery is flat. So I'm going to try to jump it off the girlfriend's car, which is parked right behind it. And one of the great features of the Miata is that the battery is in the back. So I don't have to stretch jumper cables across the car. So we're going to very gingerly tighten this down. Oh, that injector is upside down. Let's rotate it so I can... Yeah, you want your connectors to be visible from the top so you can plug shit in. So we're going to rotate this one. Like so. I can't grasp the damn thing. But as I started off saying, this car has been one of my best purchases ever because, you know, it's a good little weekend warrior car, you know, and it's fun to work on. I mean, this is a car you can work on, and it's fun. It's like you're accomplishing something. It's like you're using your mind and your tools and in your hands, and you're accomplishing something. And it's not that difficult to work on. I mean, look at how easy this job was. Really. And not only that, but the car is so well made to begin with that there isn't a lot you need to do to it anyway. So a lot of the components have lasted for years and years with very little degradation. Now again, I realize that this is a unique example. This car has had a very, very cushy life, mostly spent in garages, and and it's in good shape to begin with. But even one that's in bad shape, it's not going to be a lemon. I mean, these NA Miatas are, they stopped producing them in 1997. So there's the age factor you got to think about, but so they're not spring chickens anymore, but they're still ubiquitous. They're easy to get parts for. I mean, you could buy a BMW Z3 for what I paid for this car, but I guarantee you're not going to have as much fun with it, unless it's one of those M Roads or M Edition ones, and and those are coveted. But I wouldn't want one. I tell you that. I wouldn't want one. I'm happy with this. So our injectors are back in. They're reconnected. We need to put the zipped. I'm even using the original zip ties where possible because they're in good shape and they're original. So this one was banded around the fuel rail, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it in, but let's try. We'll try anyway. Sound good? Okay. I'm going to just try to get it back where it came from. I can see where I can just, there we go. Come on now. There we go. There we go. Come on, come to dad. There we go. Alright, let me grab that screwdriver to help me get it in place. Oh wait, I have a hook. Use hook. But seriously, guys, gals, whatever you identify as, you gotta say that now. You gotta make sure you're all inclusive. But if you're not out scouring Craigslist ads for a Miata after watching this video, you've got a stone cold heart. I'm just kidding. But no, really. If you've got a troubled youth at home, a young 16, 17-year-old, or even younger than that, if you got a young person at home and you're afraid they might turn to drugs, get them a Miata, an old one. Get them a nice old Miata. And you know what? They're going to learn a lot. They're going to have a lot of heartache trying to fix it up and paying for all the stuff it needs, but at the end of the day, they can't afford drugs, or they won't be able to. And they'll be richer for the experience. Guaranteed. Alright, injectors are installed, hooked up. Alright, now we got this hard as a rock PCV hose to replace. That is a 25-year-old, 26-year-old hose. This, okay, so, all right. Well, look, it's easier to show you. This is what flexible looks like. This is not flexible anymore. Now, what happens is with these old hoses, as they lose their elasticity and they dry out, in extreme cases, they'll begin to crack. But what can happen is as things move around under the hood and they flex and they move and they shift with temperature changes, these can leak because they don't return back to their original position. They don't have any give to them anymore. So, all I'm saying is, oh, the new one's even longer. Whew. Okay, I have one clamp. Let me see if I can find another. But seriously though, I mean, if you've got a a child or you're just a bored office worker like me and you just want something to play with on the weekends, you could do far worse than an old Miata. You really could. I mean, these things are just such a pleasure to work on. It's like I almost anticipate something breaking on this car, so it gives me something to do. My modern daily driver is so freaking reliable, I don't have to worry about it. And that's terrifying because I have nothing to do on the weekends. And I'll be damned if I'm going to do yard work for the rest of my life. No, this car is so fun. Now, I don't think I have the right hose clamp size, but well, let's just see if I can. Oh yeah, that works. That works. Now these hose clamps, yes, you can get away with not putting them on. But what their job is to maintain tension on these hoses as they warm up and as they cool down. That's what these spring clamps are for. And they do that job very well. In case you're wondering, I did not change out that PCV valve today because that valve is only like 1 summer old. And they're good for like 20,000 miles. Okay, I think we're ready to start her up. I gotta put the fuel pump relay back in, and we'll see if she'll start. See what happens. Neutral. Clutch in. Okay. No bueno. No bueno. No bueno. All right, let me get my jumper cords. Step number 2. Alright, we're going to let her sit for a little bit. She runs pretty good. Not bad. Alright, got the utility or the power source pulled away. Let's check for leaks. I don't smell any fuel. I don't see any fuel. See no evil, hear no evil. It's a little eager than it used to be. But that could be just because of the timing change that I did to it. And other than that, it runs exactly the same. So there's nothing wrong. But now we know it. Now we have proof that there's nothing wrong with the injectors. And we have the added benefit of having new seals, so that they'll be good for another 20 years. But one of the things that I did, and again, adjusting the timing on this engine was critical because it really was way off. Well, like 2 degrees, but that's a lot, I think. I could be wrong. Now, I do want to put some kind of a cap over this idle adjustment screw, for sure. There should be a rubber stopper here, but there's nothing there, so I gotta find one of those. If nothing else, it'll prevent, you know, if that screw, if the threads on the screw have any play in them or any whatever sealant they put on there at the factory, you know, that could create a small vacuum leak. But probably not. Probably nothing to worry about. Well, I don't see any leaks. Nothing to worry about here. Well, that was fun. Thank you for watching. And get on the classifieds and buy one of these. They're cheap. I'm trying to bring the value up by selling more of them. Limit the supply. But seriously, if you guys are looking for a little weekend toy, something to tinker around with in the garage or the yard or whatever, you could do worse than a first-gen Miata, I'm telling you right now. These things are so fun to play with. And listen to how smooth that thing runs. So smooth. So smooth. Alright. Well, I gotta go find something else to break.